Welcome back, everyone, to Game 2 of mm2nescartridge versus Nevdi. MM2 took Game 1 with a nice, very astute find at the first item, a croc. And it looks like we're getting into Game 2 here in a couple of seconds. And now I'm not alone on commentary. I'm joined here by Aussie. Sorry, I'm trying to catch my footing here. I was trying to scarf down some food in between the matches. Aussie, how you doing today?
I'm good. Excited to see the rest of the series. M2 and Nevdi, very strong runners.
Yeah, absolutely. Today is a stacked day of the randomizer tournament on the Speedgaming channels.
Absolutely. Even this hour is stacked.
Yeah,
And
we
the
have
other
a
channel,
game 1 of
Roger
Kip versus Audra. Absolutely.
Yeah, busy Saturday.
Yeah, Zeb played Fringo this morning as well. That one went to all 3 games. I'm hoping as a spectator this goes to all 3 games. If I'm starting to lose my voice in game 2, I'm going to start hoping it doesn't. So we'll see.
Okay.
So we're getting
I'm
started
glad
here.
to be able to help you then.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're getting started here, and they're going to go down to Retro Brinstar to pick up that Morph Ball. Much like every seed starts this way. And for those who are just joining us, this is Game 2 of a 3-game series. MM2 took Game 1, and the mode that is being raced here is Minor, Full Area Randomization, and Boss Shuffle. Would you like to explain a little bit what that entails, Aussie?
Sure. So you've already mentioned that we're heading down to get the Morph Ball. So it's guaranteed to be down there as one of the major items, as well as the Ceiling E-Tank is going to be another major. And we can always get 2 minor items, which are going to be ammo packs while we're down there. And that's going to decide the very early game across all those items. Speed Booster is really cool to see. Like that opens up a lot of like uncommon options for what you can do. But we'll see how it plays out, whether they get power bombs here or not. I did want to talk about the map in the middle of the screen here, and that's gonna show how all the area transitions are connected. So as we are exploring the map, some lines are going to be filled in on our tracker in the middle here. Since the map is broken into different regions, and they've all been shuffled around randomly, and so we're gonna have to see what the sea is giving us.
Mm-hmm. And often they're referred to as connectors by some or portals by others, because it kind of warps you around the map, so to speak, and redraws the way that the rooms connect in an interesting way that you have to play around the lack of complete map information.
Yeah, it's gonna be a big part of like the mode is working with how the connectors are shuffled.
Mm-hmm, absolutely, and making decisions based on what can happen, as opposed to making a decision based on knowing what the map will entail. So just double missile here on the ammo checks. So unfortunately, they're not gonna be able to check the portal here in Retro Brinstar. Usually you want to be able to check that portal. It just feels a lot better if you can follow it and skip climbing up here like this. And it just also can be really hard to get later if it's a portal that you're not going to get from the back.
Yeah, it looks like we're not getting a speed keep for the old Mother Brain item.
Yeah, that's one of those tricks I feel like I should spend a little bit of time on. I feel like if you can get it 80%, you just give it one attempt in this situation.
Yeah, I think there is setups where you can get it to that 80%.
Mm-hmm. I think it's worth one attempt if you're confident and comfortable with it, just because a super or a power bomb could prove a very large advantage.
Yep, with only missiles in particular, where you need both supers and power bombs. Normally you'd have one or the other by now.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and then just wave beam here. So the only portals that are in logic for our runners are going to be the ones on the west side of Criteria. They're going to use their speed booster and a short charge to get to the major location at Terminator and be able to check those 2 portals. Now, an interesting thing that might be relevant here, and this is looking in the future, if one of these portals down here is Main Street, there's a neat little out of logic trick you can do where you carry a Shine Spark into Main Street to spark up Main Street Suitless. for that ammunition there. And with an energy tank at Terminator, it is possible. It's rare.
Yeah, an energy
but-
tank's gonna help with that.
Yeah, if it shows up, that is something to look out for because it can net a player a really big advantage if it's an autologic power bomb pack, or even supers in this case.
Yeah, there are just a bunch of uncommon situations that come up between having Speed Booster and these portal connections, where you can charge your Shine Spark on one side and then bring it into the transition. Those are always cool to see. Hard to remember to do. Front of Lower Norfair, not going that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely not going to front of Lower Norfair here. And then the right portal is going to take us into Red Tower. It's the only option you have. Red Tower without power bombs or supers feels a little bad though, because there aren't. The only ammo checks in Red Tower, well, they're locked behind super missiles, and without power bombs, going up Red Tower, there's a yellow door that can soft lock you if you don't find power bombs.
Right, so going up Red Tower is really bad with this limited ammo situation, but Upper Norfair has some options now to lead away from that with their Speed Booster, and any tank's enough to reach some portals, but like not ideal.
I believe with Speed Booster, one energy tank puts the Crocomire portal in logic.
Yeah, I think that's right.
And then I believe a second E-tank actually puts the Speed Booster item in logic with Speed Booster. It's 4 normally, but I believe with Speed Booster it's 2. I know in Chozo it is, but Chozo energy requirements are just a bit different because of how that logic works.
Well, they can't reach Speed Booster for a couple of reasons right now. So,
That's true. They do need an explosive to get there.
explosive and a super pack.
Mm-hmm. And without super missiles, yeah, I definitely think if you know that the one tank is logically required here, you probably go to the Croc portal. Possibly, it's hard to say with the other portals missing. I also, yeah, you have to.
I do like the save. The save's really good.
Because there are other portals in Red Tower that you can get to, but knowing that this is logic, especially with that wave beam, making it really easy.
Yeah, like the very top of Red Tower is behind that power bomb door, meaning you can't get back, and so it's really nice to have a save just anywhere before committing to that.
Absolutely. See, it's
actually, a space jump is going to help get to Chronic Boost Door if they decide to do that too.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. Not in logic, I believe. I think you still just need 3 tanks.
Not.
I think you need 3 tanks regardless of loadout. And there's the first super missiles at Moat. So now our runners are probably just going to continue through here and not go back for that Ice Beam check. Ice Beam requires 2 energy tanks to check. It's definitely doable on 1. And it's doable on 0 even if you have power bombs and it's an E-tank you can get out. But without power bombs, you just need more health for it too.
Yeah. Like, I'd imagine you want to go back through Upper Criteria. It came down to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And here's power bombs.
Yeah, interestingly, Nevdi is checking the portal first. This is not going to work out for him if it's a portal he wants to follow, but at the same time, I definitely get it. There's 2 majors here, and it's the lava dive. There's those 2 majors here in in Red Brinstar that with super missiles and power bombs you're going to be able to get. So it's going to be a little bit more efficient for Nevdi here, and I think really the only thing that he maybe follows there after getting these power bombs is Green Bryn instead of going back into Red Tower. So not finding Green Bryn there doesn't punish him for not picking up these ammo checks before going up the elevator.
Yeah, normally I'd like to come down and see if it's power bombs or not first. But maybe your movement efficiency works out better here.
Yeah,
To the power bomb door.
it's a really weird situation too, because like if it is a Green Bryn, you save a ton. But then if it's not, like, what other portals here are you going to follow, kind of a thing? And especially I think with the space jump, that would it's not something you would think about really, and being on commentary lets you think about it. But I think with the space jump, you're definitely more inclined to want to check it first because you're less likely to follow it. With X-ray being in logic and being easy, as well as missing that spacer check.
Yep. Now that we have supers and power bombs, going through Red Tower is a lot more appealing, since we can get those majors as well as the remaining portals.
Yep, and that tube portal is not going to be in logic without a high jump or a gravity suit. So Nevdi's going to go back, and I think this is pretty good. You probably want to at least get the tube portal, and like, you know, missing out on spacer here feels pretty bad.
Yeah, tube portal is on its own right now, isolated, and it does have that major right next to it. You do really want to go through Green Brinstar, especially having speed and get all the items. But going right now would isolate these remaining checks.
Yeah, especially if the tube is just a place that is not going to be accessible from the other side. You're almost in a situation where it's going to be really hard to get back here to do it later.
Yeah, tube doesn't have too much you'd want to continue through right now. Could lead back to Green Brinstar or to a boss. You like the most favorable things?
Yeah, definitely. I think, especially in a seed like this, you want to delay Green Brinstar as little as possible. But in a situation with the way that this map has been laid out, this is probably one of the instances where you find Green Brinstar and don't immediately go into it.
Right. So if you went to Green Brinstar, you'd be getting the 5 majors, and that would let you do more regions by way of having more items. But by going to Tube now, you might have to turn around and go back. Or like, I guess we're expecting to turn around and go back.
Absolutely.
That kind of locks you into turning around.
And with the tube not being in logic necessarily, it's not entirely likely that like following it is going to lead you to something good necessarily with a green burn outstanding. The items are random at the end of the day, so there is a chance, you know, a high jump's here, and then gravity's behind this at like a croc or something. But I think worst case for Nevdi is that it is croc, because like you find croc here, and it feels really bad to be doing croc with the green burn outstanding kind of thing.
Yep. We get East Meridia.
Yeah, the front is definitely one of those portals that, depending on where Dragon is located, that's going to be a really tricky one to ever get back to. And it looks like Nevdi's also going to pair this with finishing up the business center knowledge, as well as probably checking Ice Beam here.
Yeah, there's another portal here that they haven't seen, and it's right next to the tube check.
Oh, and this works out. I think you maybe still go back and do Ice Beam, and now MM2's basically going to do stuff in reverse here, so it kind of just works out. They're going to get all the same information here. And Area tends to do that in the early game. Players will do different things, and sometimes maybe one might be slightly better than another, but things tend to converge when you're missing so much stuff like this.
So we see an X-ray scope, then we're going to get the waterway check. Yep, still pretty early on. We have enough items to check everything here, and we're going to find out what kind of majors and minors we get to continue with the rest of the seed.
And it's going to be it's going to be interesting here to see if MM2 decides to do that Ice Beam. I think Nevdi was probably planning on it, wasn't planning on following that portal and coming back and getting that Ice Beam, but once you find the middle of Green Bryn there, it's just the Ice Beam becomes a little too far out of the way because it's not on your way back and you want to be in Green Bryn anyway. But since MM2 knows that it's Green Bryn over here, yep, and there it is with the Spazer E-Tank. It's also, you know, something that he has enough health to do logically as well.
Yep, M2, it was most efficient to come back by passing by this way. So it's a pretty good time to check Ice Beam. Health is still too low for like an upper Norfair. Plus, don't want to put off Green Brinstar any longer.
Absolutely, especially with only one portal remaining to kind of get back to it. I mean,
Yeah.
you could
Can't
do.
work out for a third time.
Yeah. Exactly. And just a spring ball here at wave gate. Luckily for Nevdi, he has the wave beam. Doesn't need to use all of his super missiles here. And I suspect MM2 is just gonna go right back into Greenbryn here. I think it would.
Yeah, same.
Taking this energy to Bubble Mountain is just not advisable. And the way I think about it is
Oh,
like,
no.
yeah,
Shut out the
yeah, a couple of E-tanks will like help speed up your Bubble Mountain checks, right? And like it's doable on this equipment, and it can be fast if you find E-tanks. But if you're going to Bubble Mountain hoping to find 2 E-tanks to make it not so slow, then why are you in Bubble Mountain, kind of a thing? Because like there's 3 checks there. You want them to not be E-tanks if possible.
It'd be more like hoping to find Varia suit specifically.
Exactly.
So it kind of puts Nevdi ahead in positioning. Cleared out most of Green Brinstar. And Mem2 has the knowledge on Ice Beam.
Yep, and that energy tank, which is not necessarily trivial. An extra energy tank can be pretty big depending on how the seed plays out.
Yeah, it does depend how the seed plays out.
Mm-hmm.
We're already passing off Upper Norfair for now.
Mm-hmm.
And that'd be the big place to use it until the end game.
Yeah, E-tanks are... You don't feel bad about finding them until you do. And by that, what I mean is when you're finding energy tanks, you don't really feel that bad about it until you find Varia. Once you find Varia, every E-tank you found goes from, like, you know, kind of an all right, like, middle ground, like, you're not upset, you're not entirely happy, but you're not mad about it, to like, gosh, I have way too many E-tanks to have Varia right now.
Yep. But even with Varia, there's certain situations where you need a bunch of health.
Yeah, definitely. With the area connectors, I think this is a mode where picking up E-tanks, even when you don't necessarily need them for heated rooms, is still really good, because since you don't necessarily know how the map is going to go out, you don't always know if you're going to want health to do a lower Norfair somewhere, right? Or, you know, keeping your ammo managed really well is also pretty important, because you could just run into a portal that has LN and you don't have any health because you skipped an energy tank.
So we got Charge Beam here, and Nevdi's about to run into our final Green Brinstar portal. And that's going to decide what comes up next.
Yeah, I think if you're Nevdi, if this is a portal that you don't want to follow, you feel pretty good about leaving that Ice Beam, because you can just get it on the way back here.
Yeah.
Because you're probably going into Upper Norfair.
Right. So, like, we have the... You do want to follow this portal, and you don't, are the two situations. If you don't, then you're going to go back to Upper Norfair.
And so this save here is interesting. I go back and forth. There are so many situations where the save is really good. But this save is kind of basically just... If I find redfish here, I get really good information. Or like if it's a
I feel
boss
like
area.
There's
like a
a
boss
lot of
area.
situations where the save is good here.
Yeah, definitely. A boss area or redfish.
In this scene.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of portals that this could be good at.
Not that one.
It's tempting though to go check Main Street. There's a little grab jump you can do because it's the same connector.
Yeah, because the doors are aligned, I wasn't thinking about that.
Yeah, this was... So, in the first area seed I ever played was a race against Nevdi. And I'd never played area before. And it was light area. And I go up red tower without power bombs. And everyone's like, oh, I'm soft locked. And I was just... It was the same connector here, so I was like, oh, I bet you this is possible. So I did it. And I was like, oh, people probably know about that. Well, playing area this year, I find out that, like, in that race against Nevdi was, like, when people found out it was a thing.
Pretty hard to do. I was doing it in a map rando the other day, and it took me a long time.
It's definitely not trivial. You want to jump a little bit later, but like depending on when you jump, it depends on when you want to turn around. And Nevdi's just gonna give it up there. It's definitely one of those things you want to practice a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. But like generally, it's a last frame jump through the door and turn around as late as you can before hitting the ceiling.
Yep. And that's a situation where the save works out really well because the Main Street portal can be really big knowledge to have it ahead of time, especially if West Meridia kind of ends up being a little less accessible later and you're in like a wrecked ship and you don't know if you want to check the back. Just having Main Street could change the difference, even if the back isn't like a useful portal necessarily. Just the fact that you have checked off useless portals makes checking other portals better later, especially when those other portals are potentially risky portals.
Yep, having the Meridian map information is worth the elevator rides here.
Definitely.
As far as West Meridia portals go, a lot of them feel just bad to search out.
Yeah, they can be. It's really movement item dependent, I feel. Even with gravity, you kind of want to avoid having to check West Meridia portals from West Meridia without movement items. Those grab jumps can take a while, and it looks like MM2 is also trying this. I think it's a little bit more attractive to do with a save. I'm not sure if MM2 saved, but without a save, it's a bit bigger of a time loss if it's a portal you don't want to follow. But like, say for instance, and there that is, say for instance this comes out to single chamber, MM2 just saves a very long backtrack that Nevdi ended up having to do.
Yeah, so that's only one portal.
Exactly. That's one example. That's one example of a situation where it can be good. And look at that, back of wreck ship. So
wreck ship. This is a committal.
This is so logically this isn't technically in logic. So the back of wreck ship this way requires high jump or gravity suit to get through here. But from this side with a space jump, with a spring ball, or like with an ice beam without high jump, it's not too bad going this direction. Going the other direction can get a little suspect. There's some space jump, underwater wall jump shenanigans you can do, or there's some boosts.
There's a speed and spring ball strat to get out of the water that's really free.
Oh really? That's interesting.
You just mockball down the first ramp at the bottom ramp, and it lets you jump out of the water.
Okay, I'll have to take a look at that. That's pretty interesting. If you need, yeah, if you need esoteric room strats under weird equipment, Aussie is your guy. That's for sure. Map Rando master over here. And there's a gravity suit for Nevdi in Hubble Mountain. Yeah.
Yeah, so wreck ship, as far as bosses goes, is very scary. Because you still can't beat Ridley or Dragon.
Yeah, Dragon
for sure.
Technically doable if you're able to get a super drop to get a flash suit, but on this equipment, if you're gonna try and flash suit Dragon, especially without the various suit, you want to reserve. It's really hard to like put yourself in crystal flash health when Dragon deals 140 damage, 120 damage, something like that, 160 I think, suitless.
Yeah, that sounds right. 60.
Yep. Yeah, and so you want to get below 50, but if Dragon's dealing 160 to you, it's not easy without a reserve. Also, you use supers to get here. This is a fight that's technically possible for MM2 to do, but not one that you want to feel forced to have to do.
So I'm feeling Nevdi taking the safer way through the seed. Knows that he can clear Upper Norfair. Doing that. M2 took the risk with wreck ship, and so far not working out. Still has another portal to check.
Yeah, I think this coming through here maybe is a little bit better if you saved in Greenbryn, or maybe
that too.
Just because you can, the rolling saves are really helpful.
Springball strat looked like it had real potential to go all the way.
Yeah, that would have been sick. Springball is an item that is really sick, and the more other movement items you have, the better it becomes. What a great item. So Nevdi's going to be clearing out this upper north air here. How you manage upper north air heated room checks can be a really big way to set yourself apart from other runners. If you're a really skilled runner, being able to manage this and do this as efficiently as possible is a really big skill. And so MM2 has found
that's
the back of East Meridia.
Mind.
Yeah, there's some shambles going on here. This is a bit disastrous. I think with a save, this follow is a little bit better, but without, it's just... There's no guarantee that you'll get something that's doable back here, and then you're in kind of a really bad spot. Getting back isn't going to be too bad, but it's going to take a long time just for one boss check and the portal knowledge. It looks like MM2 is going to try and do a flash suit here.
Yeah, we're getting the flash suit Dragon fight. Did find the super pack in the ocean. There'll be enough ammo.
Yeah, I mean, if he can do this, that could potentially be big, though. Because with the front being at the back, and Dragon being here, you're going to want to come to wreck ship from the back, right? But you're not necessarily going to know that that's what you want to do.
Yeah, true.
And
still making the best out of a terrible situation.
Yep, and with Charge Beam, so the way this works is you need to administer a Crystal Flash while Dragon is kind of gooing, and then you'll get hit by some of the goop, and Dragon will pick you up and cancel your Crystal Flash. And the way that, depending on how late you Crystal Flash, you can actually keep all of your supers if you do it right. It gets pretty risky the later you Crystal Flash, though, because you could just power bomb away all the goop that can grab you. And when you're in a Crystal Flash, you don't have iframes, so Dragon will come through you and immediately kill you.
That's a really good point about saving ammo. Especially for this equipment set. Supers are going to be the best way to deal damage.
Yep.
So you want to hold on to those.
So, MM2 doesn't want that big health at all. That's not good. So MM2 didn't want that big health. Now his health's in a really bad spot for this. His one hit now is going to put him at 59, and he needs to be below 50 for a Crystal Flash. And that's the hard part, right? So MM2 ended up picking up that big health himself, but like if Dragon if he wasn't able to get out of Dragon that fast, Dragon might have accidentally put him into that big health. Without that he couldn't control. Excuse me, stumbling over my words here. Which is why just a reserve makes this so much safer. Because what you can do with a reserve is use your reserve manually until you're at about 20, and then take hits until your reserve triggers automatically. And since it's only refilling 20 energy, your reserve finishes refilling before you run out of iframes. And you just end up with 20 energy after taking a hit that should kill you, which is perfect to Crystal Flash. Oh, and the very astute Croc. Nevdi learning his lesson, skipping Croc with really bad ammo situation.
So Nevdi is in just a great spot from here. Both suits in charge.
Yeah, this play that MM2 ended up making is not going to work out for him, and it's just really kind of worst case scenario, especially because Nevdi was able to find everything else. If he has a save in Green Brinstar, you have the potential to be able to look at the bright side and say this might not be terrible, just because you don't want to have to go through Wreck Ship from the back, and then the front of Wreck Ship connects to the back of East Meridia, and Wreck Ship has that Dragon. So getting to the back of East Meridia without Dragon dead is very slow. But without a save in Green Brinstar, Charge being in Green Brinstar, you almost want to reset back to Business Center and just say screw it, but definitely not worthwhile with that charge location and all those E-tanks.
Yep. So we decided to make the walk back. Yeah, I don't know. I would have liked to save before going up through West Meridia as well.
Yeah, like I think if you're going to follow an autologic portal here, you need a nearby save, just because the front has no guarantees to give you a good portal, and the boss has no guarantees to be killable. My guess is he maybe probably forgot that Flash Suit Dragon under this equipment is going to be really tricky without that reserve and with this low of a super count. It's definitely something that's really easy to forget when you think of ways to get out of Dragon. Oh, I have Crystal Flash ammo, I'm good. But missing that reserve or not having Varia makes it significantly harder.
Yeah, like not just this location, but like if you dive anywhere and you think you have an okay way to get out of Dragon, you can just not think about it too hard and end up in a bad situation.
Yep. Especially when it's a situation you're not used to, you can just forget stuff everywhere. Nevdi's trying to think of what to do right now.
I'm expecting to see a reverse slinky, converting it into a blockbuster.
There we go. Yeah, so this map knowledge that Nevdi has gotten for us while he's been quietly finding all the items here. Meme portal's kind of coming up big, possibly. There's a chance you're gonna have to do a front-to-front LN. Let's see it. With the crate back there, Turian could just be back there. This is kind of weird. I think you kind of want to try to find your way into West Meridia, and I think he's...
Okay. So Nevdi doesn't know the back of East Meridia. Probably follows to that. But Nevdi really wants the portal information right now. It's the biggest thing.
I think you, with Kraid and Turian outstanding, you probably want to follow back here, even unless with Dragon not dead, but it feels really bad. Because we know Dragon's not going to be here, which makes going out the back incredibly slow, because you have to take the long way around. And maybe he feels like he might have to go and make a play like that and skip going out the back, kind of a thing.
Yeah, after the boss kill, you end up pretty close to the front entrance again, and it's kind of tempting to just walk right through it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, especially because like, you do this area, right? And if you're checking the back and find Turian, it's just like, well, it feels bad to have found, like, because unless another boss location has a dead end, usually you'll be able to figure out where Turian is if you skipped it somewhere. Just because in most seats you'll be able to get complete portal knowledge and deduce the last one. So like if you're just looking for Turian, you don't want to check the back here, but that can also get you in weird situations where LN and East Meridia have two dead ends connecting to them, and then you're just having to guess, which is never fun.
Yeah, so in Nevdi's situation, I think he has like mainly bad transitions to check for a Turian. It's like the other side of Wreck Ship, the back of Lorne Warfare, and Meme Route Portal. And so you have to start picking some of them.
Exactly. And what is interesting here is this West Meridia looks to be basically inaccessible other than that, like, you know, obviously there's 4 ways to get in there, but in terms of easy access, it's like, I mean, right now we know of 2 ways, right? Top of Greenbryn, which is an absolutely abysmal portal to try and run back to as a backtrack, and go through East Meridia front to back to go to Wreck Ship front to back without Dragon dead. Are your like 2 ways to West Meridia right now. And the fact that Turian and Kraid in the back of LN are outstanding still, it basically seems like if Nevdi isn't going out the back of East here, he could be in a really, really bad spot, actually. And that portal information MM2 got could turn out huge. I think MM2 is still pretty far behind, but with the save in Greenbryn, that portal knowledge could have actually really saved him a lot of time. Even just knowing the front of East, or rather, even just knowing the front of Wreck Ship was the back of East Meridia, like, could still turn out to have been really big if he had that save to reset back to immediately.
We'll see what Nevdi decides. Like, it'd be really, really good to follow the portal, and pretty bad not to. It looks like
Yeah.
he's going to leave.
Yeah, I do know Nevdi has been saying he's been trying to be a little bit more aggressive on some of the portal stuff. And unfortunately, with what we know, it's either meme route or back of LN, or even neither of them. Meme route could just connect to the back of LN. In which case, you know, he's trekking through Green Bryn probably, which is pretty slow.
This is Green Bryn. Okay. So this
guess-
is for the 3 portals in West Meridia.
Yeah,
He
this
doesn't know
isn't too bad. I mean, it feels bad, but it definitely is a little risky if Kraid is at the back of East Meridia from his perspective. But at the same time, it's, you know, you don't want to check the back and find Turian back there. And also, the other thing though about Kraid at the back of East Meridia, without Dragon Dead, is that since you're going through the front portal anyway, the only time you end up actually losing if Kraid is back there is the time it takes to get back to that front of East portal, because you're passing by it on your way to the back anyway without Dragon Dead. So Kraid being back there is a time loss, but it's not as much as it sounds, because it's only any traversal time he needs to get back to that portal at the front.
And that's the Red Bryn Star 2 portal. So it's pretty accessible.
So I don't think the skip is bad. With our knowledge, we know it would have worked out really well for him to go out the back, but from his perspective, I think skipping it is a bit risky if it's Kraid, but in terms of like direct time loss if it's Kraid, it's a lot less than it sounds like.
Yeah. But he'll find out where that portal went as soon as he does Wreck Ship. Wreck Ship is going to be a killable boss. I guess it's still a similar situation where you want to put off taking that trip until you have all the bosses down in case of Vitorian.
Yeah, I think he's at least going to check every portal here before following that, I think. In terms of places where if you feel fine about checking a portal and finding Turian in some of these boss areas, I think doing Wreck Ship from the back and finding Turian at the front is probably, of the bad ones, the one you feel least bad about. The one you probably feel most bad about is doing a Lower Norfair from the back and finding Turian at the front and having to reset back out of all that. That's a couple minutes right there.
Yep.
And then in the middle is East Meridia, but the East Meridia depends on if Dragon's dead or not as well.
Okay, so there's our Turian.
That's really good. Now he's just looking for Kraid.
Yep. So from here, he's going to try to make a route that ends near West Meridia.
Yep. Which means, you know, he's probably hoping to be able to front to back Wreck Ship here. Depending on this portal, that could really put him in a weird spot. So it's back of LN, which is actually like, that means Kraid is at meme route.
Yeah.
He doesn't know that yet.
LN. Oh, does he not know that yet?
He doesn't know that front of Wreck Ship is back of East. So my guess is he does this back to back, and then does Wreck Ship. At which point he knows the Kraid is at meme route, whereas MM2 is going to know that a lot sooner. Well, maybe not even that much sooner, I guess, because the top 2 West Meridia portals are still missing, and those are going to be hard to find.
No, it's hard to see how much of a backtrack this will be after.
Yeah.
I guess for both of them, really.
So Kraid at meme route can get really silly. In this seed, there was not really a time where someone could justify checking it. It's hard to justify checking it in a lot of seeds in general, just because it's such a long check. But there are times where I think going down there isn't terrible. For instance, if you go out of a boss area, you and like end up at East Crateria, for instance, right? And the crab portal is like a croc or something. And you know the 2 portals on the left, you don't know meme route. that's a time when you can go check it before having complete portal knowledge. But going back to it from the front is just not something that is done unless it's required. If you can't check it right away, usually.
Mm-hmm. You always want to try to check it right away, just because it's so bad.
Mm.
Otherwise, you're hoping to run into it off another portal.
Yeah, and as Zeb is kind of pointing out, if you're the way the map works, and with MM2's knowledge, and see, so MM2 is checking meme route here, and in MM2's case, it's actually a pretty decent check because you know front of Rec Ship in back of East Meridia and Main Street, and that's really far away. And this portal is a little bit closer. And you know it's going to be a good one, right? It's either going to lead you back to West Meridia, back of LN, or Crate. All three of those are just really good. So with MM2's knowledge, checking this before it being his last portal is really good here.
And he also knows that Nevdi is going to try to make this his last portal. So if this does happen to be Crate, then that's really good.
Or it is Turian, yes. MM2 actually also doesn't know Turian. That's the worst case scenario. But if this is Turian, and we know it's not, but from MM2's perspective, if this is Turian, he could hope that back of East is potentially a thorn in his opponent's side, or that front of Rec Ship kind of thing. Although front of Rec Ship is a pretty quick check from the boss, so maybe not. But he's really hoping this isn't Turian, and if it's not, which it isn't, it works out really well for him. Especially with the mistakes that were made early in some of the shambles there, I think this is a perfectly viable play for him to make. And he'll get kind of rewarded for it because his late game's going to route a little bit better.
Yeah, like it was enough shambles that you need to make some risky plays and just hope that it works out like it is here. Another thing is going through Lower Norfair routes pretty well, I think.
Yeah, you could do a Lower Norfair front to back.
But that would be like just as risky, having that Torian at the end.
Yeah, so from MM2's perspective though,
he doesn't know about it yet.
Well, the only thing is the only way back of LN is Turian is if West Meridia loops on itself.
Oh.
Which can happen. It can happen. It's not very likely to happen. And I think when the alternative to play around a place looping on itself is like significantly worse, I think it's like kind of bad to try and play around that because it just doesn't happen very often. I think playing around it is really only viable in a situation where the alternative isn't that much worse than just doing it and pretending that it's not possible. Because so the way the Varia randomizes the portals is it will pick a portal at random, and then it will pick a second portal at random, but force that second portal to be a different area. Meaning that a portal only connects to the same area that it's in, and an area will loop if it's like the last two portals or something. Like there's no other areas left that haven't been paired, which makes it pretty rare because it's picking them all at random and forcing different ones.
Yeah, that's really useful knowledge to know when coming up with the route. And also explains why it seems more uncommon to have portals loop on themselves.
Exactly. It tries to avoid it. It's interesting that, so the way the speedrun places items, it places them and then checks if the seat's beatable kind of thing. And I'm interested if maybe in why they didn't instead just do the same thing with the portals. If you get an area that loops on itself, you just re-randomize everything until that doesn't happen. But that's not how they do it. So it can happen, but it's pretty rare. And especially with MM2 shambles, playing around West Meridia looping on itself is really safe for someone who probably feels behind.
Yeah. But this play down to meme route worked out really well. See how he follows it up. Like, does know about the Rec Ship to East Meridia connection. I feel like that could be a little awkward to finish in Torian. especially with the other end of Lornor Fair also being West Meridia.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I'm not really sure what the best route is from here at a glance.
Yeah, the way these portals worked out, that information MM2 got ended up being really big. I don't think it's enough,
Yeah.
but he's going to be able to make up a lot more time than you would think, just because that portal knowledge becomes really big. The way the map worked out, if he has a save in Green Bryn that he can just reset back to, I think he might have been ahead in this case because of that portal knowledge that looks like a dud at first, but portal knowledge can feel bad until it doesn't, and it can feel great until it doesn't, kind of a thing. You don't know
Yeah,
how
that
good it is until you have more info, basically.
yeah, the trip back through the backside of Wreck Ship was pretty long. That's a few minutes. Taking a stab at the Dragon boss fight was another few minutes.
Yeah, definitely.
They just reset all that away.
Yeah. It'd be in a very good spot, but there was no save taken there, so this is where we're at. Yeah, I think this is a situation where you do the boss first. If Turian, like, for instance, so say Kraid was at Redfish and Turian is meme route. This is just like elucidating a situation here for the viewers. In that situation, actually, if Turian is still outstanding, if you're Nevdi, what you would actually probably have done is you save in West Meridia, check the front portal, and if it's Turian, you reset, and then kill the boss on the way to Turian at the end. But since he's looking for Kraid instead of Turian, that's not a possible play to make, but that is something to keep in mind with some of these dead ends. If you can save before a back of Wreck Ship, check the front portal, and if it's Turian, reset and go somewhere else, because then you just kill the boss right at the end.
I wonder if there's still a way to make that play.
Yeah, so portal
Just save
before
in the middle of
bosses.
the overall map somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, portal before bosses. And Wreck Ship is one of the few places where I think that's a pretty good play. Or west, or like an East Meridia kind of thing. If you only know the back. And like you see Turians at the front. Because you pass it on the way to the boss. You could just reset out. Like, as long as you're go mode, you don't need any more items. You could just reset that out, and then you just make sure you do East Meridia at the end. Is another very smart situation to use a save like that. An Ice Beam. I'm surprised Nevdi checked this.
Yeah, like neither one of them has needed items for quite a while now. But
yeah.
Ice is a good find.
Mm-hmm.
Damage
definitely...
and easy Zen scoop. And easy
Yes,
Metroid.
absolutely. Dragon is the slowest boss to check behind. But I mean, I did see Nevdi do Wreck Ship E, and I know Nevdi tries to be consistent. Like, if he's wasting the time to check Wreck Ship E, this check is just as fast, so he should probably be doing this check too.
Yeah.
And he's probably also looking for a beam. Charge Wave is fine, but like, with his current ammo, Charge Wave is still pretty slow.
Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. It's a lot of shots with just Charge Wave.
It's 120, I believe. So
having Ice cut off a lot of seconds.
So Nevdi finding the back of East here, and he probably was thinking about this ahead of time, right? If this is Kraid, great. I'm beating the game real quick. If it's back of East, he probably has already routed his way back to meme route, which is something I've been neglecting to think about, as MM2 does some nice X factors there on Phantom. Those are some really fun strats that you get to use when you have that charge wave beam. And so Nevdi's going to be going through the front of East here, and he's going to take that to Red Tower, back to Crateria, to get to that meme route. And then how is he going to get to Turian?
Yeah. Nevdi coming upon that portal did only have like a very few options of where it could lead. So, and also would know from there where he wanted to go next.
Yeah. This map is so bad if you don't do meat. Oh,
Okay,
that
so we're
Turian.
in Red Brinstar after this.
Yes, it's probably where you go. Yeah, yeah, you
So
probably
we have
go.
the top.
You probably just go up green again. Yeah, you probably would just have to go from bottom to top of Green Bryn again. Or middle, I suppose. Because you'd come out at bottom of Red Tower, right next to Business Center, and you just go across to middle of Green Bryn. But, gosh, having to go up Green Bryn 2 times after already checking it to get to that West Meridia is pretty brutal.
Yeah, it's just what the seed gave them for a map. Gotta work with what it gives you.
Yeah, and then even with the knowledge that MM2 has, where he wants to end East Meridia looping in direct ship into Turian at the end, Dragon being in wrecked ship also blows. Because ideally you'd want to do wrecked ship before East Meridia, but it just routes so much better to do East Meridia first, even without the Dragon kill.
But do we think that they both have a final route in mind?
I think Nevdi does. I think he comes back up, goes to Red Tower, and goes to Business Center, to middle of Green Bryn, and just runs all the way up to West Meridia. MM2 probably comes out the back here at Crateria. He goes across to Red Bryn and does East Meridia front to back, and then Wreck Ship front to back. And we'll find Turian at the top. Or actually, no, MM2's coming out the back here, excuse me. MM2's coming out the back into West Meridia. So it's going to do Wreck Ship back to front, and then East Meridia back to back with that Dragon kill.
And then all the way back through Wreck Ship to get to West Meridia.
Yep.
Okay, so Nevdi's the first to the final boss region.
Yeah. I think he is ahead for sure, but this is a pretty brutal map where MM2's portal information let him make a bit of a play to get that meme route portal that really pays off.
Yeah, it's like portal information worked out really well for MM2. It's just pretty awkward to get the full value out of it, since you're kind of forced towards Turian and then you have to leave and come back again.
Yeah, exactly. The only way I think it would kind of have worked out for Nevdi a little bit better is if when he finds that back of Wreck Ship, he just kind of does it, which is a hard call to make, I think. But then you would know, and then when you would find the back of LN, you would know meme route has created and you could do it back to front. Which definitely routes a lot better for him, but it's still really bad. And you can't really expect someone to go into the back of Wreck Ship in that situation with 2 West Meridia portals outstanding. And Crate missing still.
Yeah, it's we could look at the full map and like see a route that looks okay from our perspective, but you're just forced to make awkward choices in this seed.
Yeah, definitely. It's a pretty terrible map, I would have to say. The Crate at meme route with just the Turian in probably one of the least accessible West Meridias I've seen. There's no good portal in there. Like back of Wreck Ship into West Meridia wouldn't be terrible if the front wasn't blocked by East Meridia. So it just is a really terrible place to end up.
Yeah, from here it should just be a run to the finish.
Yep.
They have pretty similar equipment, and Nevdi does have the beam advantage.
Yep. We'll see if
just being
MM2
ahead.
checks this for that ice beam. I I think even without that ice beam, Nevdi is ahead. The time loss at the beginning from MM2 was a little too much to overcome. The way the map worked out, though, it tried its best to help him out, for sure. I think the
It
map
was a
worked
really
out.
risky play.
Oh, it was, yeah. And I think the map kind of worked out in a way that rewards that information that he got as much as it could have. I can't think of a much bigger reward for that
We did see
information.
Nevdi trying to make the same play, but did have that save set up in advance.
Yeah, and I don't think Nevdi would have followed it followed that wreck ship either. Maybe with the save, but checking the boss from the back in wreck ship feels really bad.
Yeah, it's like maybe with the save, but I don't know. It was really risky to follow that. Big time investment.
Absolutely.
And out of logic.
Yep, so Nevdi's gonna be running up Greenbryn here.
Once again.
This may be one of the worst maps I've seen that doesn't have a bunch of weird 50-50s with like you're missing all 3 dead ends and you're missing like front of LN and like back of East Meridia kind of thing. This one's pretty terrible. It doesn't even need any of that to make it terrible.
It does have the Crazy Lair at meme route.
That is pretty bad. We had a qualifier.
Where's
like
the
that,
last
I'm pretty
location
sure.
on that?
And at this point, Nevdi's going to be going into Turian with that ice beam. Looks like MM2 did check behind Dragon and collected that ice beam as well.
Cool.
Yeah,
giving us the full Forgotten Highway twice.
Yep, absolutely. If MM2 has a save in Greenbryn, I think he's ahead, but I don't. By how much, I don't know. You can shoulda, coulda, woulda, all you want, but it is interesting to think about. The map was so bad that play had a world where it kind of works out, even though the portals and the boss really sucked.
Yeah, after a big time loss, you can't trust that they're gonna play the same way either.
Exactly. That's really the hardest part. Is especially the person. Like, there's like, oh, like if I do this, then I definitely would have done that. But that's kind of shaded by the bias of having that information. Even if you pretend that you don't have that information, you're going to be biased toward making the call that works out better for you.
So 57 minutes G4.
Yeah, back to back, kind of long seeds here from both of them back to back. Generally, I'd say most seeds can be done in about an hour. Even less of this mode by some of the top runners here, but obviously finish time is very seed dependent, and for a seed where both suits felt kind of free to acquire, like they had them pretty early, this map turned into a very long seed.
Yeah, this started as a bit of a runaround with the ammo was kind of hidden. I had to backtrack to get those suits, but then I got them pretty freely as long as you commit to the croc play. A charge was free, and that saves a lot of time to have charge early.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's just so much running around the map.
Yeah. Charge, especially with the wave beam, like any beam makes the charge so much better. Early charge with P shooter, and you never really find a beam until late, can be pretty awkward to play because like supers still save you a lot of time. And
yeah,
then
it's like you don't even have charge.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost like you don't even have charge, but then you can also run into weird situations where you're in go mode over checking for a beam, and you kind of just have to balance that with also trying to get some ammo in case you don't find that beam. It can get really awkward to play really fast. But having that wave beam definitely You don't need to pick up as much ammo to save time over charge wave beam, and you can just do a little bit of extra checking, hopefully, to get a beam.
No speed-only baby Metroid cutscene skip. Yeah,
it's some cool tech. There's...
I heard Zeb was a fan of that.
Yeah, there's something that I see. There's a soft lock involved with it, but you can unsoft lock yourself by using an X-ray that I suggested. You get stuck in a pose, I think, if you spark at the wrong time, but if you have X-ray, just use X-ray and you're no longer stuck in a weird pose. It's a cool little trick there. So it's a trick where you basically use the baby slowdown to do a short charge in a very short amount of space, and then you spark kind of as it's finishing depleting you, and you kind of just get to skip the latter part of that cutscene. It saves a few seconds, but it's not easy, and it very little time save. And without X-ray, there is that chance of soft lock. So
yeah, you use the end of the crash animation to stop the crouch, like the weakened state animation.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool that it works.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Very hard to do.
Everyone just needs to get on the Simo baby skips, where Simo can just do baby skip on any equipment now. Uses a power bomb to break them off, and
yeah, like I was practicing itemless baby skips, and I find they're just really slow. And then I watch clip the Simo doing it, and it's like just as fast as Statue skip somehow.
I know, with like the power bombs, it's just like maybe one day that'll just be required randomizer tech to know how to baby skip under any amount of equipment. But right now, just a nice little time save if you can do it.
Yeah, charge ice waves, normally 100 shots. And then you got ammo for half the fight.
Mm-hmm. And Nevdi is saving those super missiles for catch-up. I believe you could probably use it to... So the way Mother Brain will go into her Rainbow Beam is she has to end an attack cycle, basically. And a red beam, when she does a catch-up, it resets the attack cycle. So if she catch-ups at the same time she dies, you're gonna have to wait like 4 seconds for her to go into her Rainbow Beam, even if she's already dead. So saving your supers there for after the first red beam kind of guarantees you're gonna get a good little cutscene there. The only problem is if she red beams really late, you might end up doing extra charge shots. So, you know, it's better if you can count your charge shots and then end with those 15 super missiles. Just, you know, a little bit more likely to get some good ending cutscene before Mother Brain goes into that Rainbow Beam.
Personally, I just don't want to count, so
yeah,
I use all my ammo first.
I'm pretty much the same way. I was just like, I'm gonna use all my ammo first, and I play PRKD. I'm not afraid of a couple of catch-ups.
Exactly. Babies on screen at the same time.
Yep. Just in different spots here.
So ended up being really close.
Yeah, definitely closer than it looked after. Yeah, closer than it looked, I think, after MM2's kind of early game gamble didn't work out too well for him. But, you know, that's the thing about that that Main Street check that I was talking about, is that that information, yeah, it's a pretty big time investment to get it suitless. I like it a lot better with a save, just to reset back to the save. And if it's a portal you follow, obviously you don't have to run all the way down for it, which saves a significant amount of time as well. But portal knowledge can save you far more time than it seems if the map works out in certain ways. And obviously, it's not always going to save you time, but there are a lot of situations where finding certain portals can save you a lot of time. So it's worth thinking about, I think.
Yeah, portal knowledge being like a core part of this mode.
Yep.
Definitely want to think about it.
Yeah, and that is the thing to, I think, that starts to come later. I think when you first start, you kind of just, do the portals, kind of go where the seed takes you, and focus on getting your items. And then you realize that portal knowledge becomes really big, and then maybe you start prioritizing portals a little too much, and then you hit that sweet spot where you're trying to balance getting good portal knowledge with also like progressing your game state by checking items, because you have to check items to win. You can't just check all the portals.
Like early on when you start playing these, you'll see that you got to run like 3 or 4 rooms over to check a portal, and that feels really slow. But then that ends up paying off down the line.
It's like when you come into Green Bryn from the middle, you'll see most players run all the way down to the bottom to check that bottom portal, and then run back up, and it looks so slow. But
yeah, it's a good example.
Yeah, missing it can work out, and you can get really rewarded for it. But like the thing is with plays like that is the upside's kind of static, whereas the downside can like tail off to be significant if that's certain portals, basically. So it's definitely, you could argue it's a safe play, but I think it's actually just a gamble to not do that, even though it costs a lot of time and it feels bad. The long tail time loss from not doing it can get immense. And so Nevdi has just finished now in first place with an official racetime.gg time of 1 hour, 5 minutes, and 17 seconds. Congratulations to him on forcing that game 3 as MM2 forfeits here. They're going to be starting game 3 here soon as well. It looks like they started it actually about 6-ish minutes ago, so with 10-minute delay. We're going to be gone for a couple minutes, and then we'll get right back at it. Looks like they went right back into it. I don't know, are you going to be with me for game 3, or am I back to being alone here?
No, I'm staying with you. So.
Perfect. So Aussie and I will be back in a couple minutes for this grudge match here in game 3.